On the bright side of fame, is there anything better than a Hollywood love story? Well, just ask Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Now, once the entertainment industry's most promising couple, well, there was a brief period, about 3 years, where these two basically were inseparable. Hell, they even breached Australia's biosecurity laws together so that they could sneak their beloved Yorkshire Terriers into the country for a little vacation.
And Australians are just as unique, both warm and direct. When you disrespect Australian law, they will tell you firmly.
If risking imprisonment in a foreign country for your shared fur babies isn't true love, then I don't know what truly is. Now, on the other hand, I definitely know what love isn't, and as it turns out, whatever Johnny and Amber had, well, that wasn't love. Because on the dark side of fame, the only thing stronger than true love is the animosity you feel when that love turns to hate. Or feces. We'll get to that in just a minute. And man, oh man, do these two hate one another now. Now, most movie star marriages, they end in divorce, and this one, it's no different. But then Johnny and Amber decided to kick things up a notch by involving restraining orders, accusations of abuse both ways, full-blown libel trials, a severed finger, and yes, of course, even a little poop. Now, Johnny and Amber, they're about to take their show on the road as they invade a Virginia courtroom over the next few weeks in part 2 of their defamation trials. And this one, well, it's going to be broadcast live and involves dozens of celebrity witnesses, including the former couple themselves. So if you've ever wanted a little context to go along with what's sure to be the biggest trial in recent memory, then join us as we dive into the ramifications of true love on the newest episode of The Dark Side of Fame. Here we go. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard first met in early 2012 while filming the movie The Rum Diary. Now, the project was one that Depp he had been planning for a long time as a companion piece to his widely popular cult film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Now, in this, he portrays the author of The Rum Diary, Hunter S. Thompson. Now, unfortunately, this film, well, it wouldn't make the same impact that the first one did, but hey, at the very least, Johnny and Amber, well, they had found one another.
I took one look at her and I thought, yep, that's the Chenault that Hunter wants. That's the one.
After 3 years of dating, well, these two, they would get married in a secret ceremony at their home in Los Angeles. A few months later, the lovebirds, they were breaking Australian law when they snuck their 2 Yorkshire Terriers into the country, and they almost wound up getting into deep trouble for doing so. But just 15 months after tying the knot, well, their marriage, it was already over. On May 23rd, 2016, Amber filed for divorce from Johnny, and even more shockingly, well, obtained a restraining order as well. Now, at the time, she alleged that Johnny, he had physically abused her during the relationship while under the influence of alcohol and drugs.
Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going? You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
In fact, she said that when she alerted Johnny of her decision to get divorced, well, he reportedly threw his phone at her, which left a bruise on her face. Now, for his own part, well, Depp, he would deny the accusation, while further suggesting that Amber was looking to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging the abuse. Regardless, the judge, well, he awarded Amber a temporary restraining order. Then only hours before a civil trial over the order was set to begin, well, Amber and Johnny released a joint statement saying that they had put their dispute to rest. Part of it read, "Our relationship was intensely passionate and at times volatile, but always bound by love. Neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm. For my money, those last 2 sentences, they more or less contradict one another. But hey, at least things were over, right?" Johnny, he gave Amber $7 million in their divorce settlement, and she then promised to donate all that money to the American Civil Liberties Union, something that she might have never actually followed through with. At the very least, it wasn't the total amount like she said she would. Now, either way, everything seemed all right with the world. Then Amber, she went and wrote an op-ed piece for the Washington Post, and from there, all hell broke loose. In December of 2018, the Washington Post had published an article written by Amber with the title, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our country's wrath. That has to change." In this article, Amber would describe her situation as a public figure representing domestic abuse by writing things like, "I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse." Now, it should be noted that Amber, she never mentioned Johnny by name once, although the implication in terms of who she was talking about, well, it was pretty clear. So in 2019, well, Johnny, he filed a $50 million lawsuit against Amber, which set the stage for the trial that's unfolding right now. But before we get into all that, well, we have a whole other lawsuit that we gotta look at first. Now you see, a few months prior to Amber's publishing her op-ed in the Post, well, a UK-based paper, The Sun, well, they ran its own article in which they referred to Depp as a wife beater. Now Depp, he was pissed and he sued the paper for libel, with the trial taking place in the UK throughout the summer and the fall of 2020. And while the proceedings were between Depp and the paper, it really felt more like it was a battle between the two exes. Now, during the testimony, Depp would recall a story during their trip to Australia in which Amber threw a bottle of vodka at him, resulting in the severing of one of his fingers and crushing a few bones in the process.
The first bottle went just past my ear, and the second one was a larger bottle, and she threw it from about this distance, and it smashed into the bar, which and this finger.
And that was just the start. Now, as they went back and forth at one another over the span of 3 weeks, well, we learned that both individuals, they were oftentimes enabling one another's drug habits, and that death threats were actually being flung both ways. Depp would further allege that Amber, she engaged in extramarital affairs behind his back with the likes of James Franco and Elon Musk, something that Amber would adamantly deny.
Wasn't Mr. Depp saying pretty horrible things to Ms. Heard?
I don't recall that.
Like, get f***ed on set, get f***ed with f***ing James Franco? Did you hear that?
I don't recall.
Did you hear him say at least you f***ing liked it?
No.
But without a doubt, the most bizarre story to come out of this trial was Depp's tale of Amber and one of her friends defecating all over his bed, saying at the time, "I thought that was an oddly fitting end to the relationship."
And I'm thinking to myself, why? What the kind of a social life does this guy have?
Heard denies ever having done this, and instead she shifted the blame towards one of the couple's dogs, but Depp countered by suggesting that the sheer size of the parcel left on his bed, well, it simply couldn't have been created by any 3-pound animal. Now, during the trial, Depp's exes, including Vanessa Paradis and Winona Ryder, well, they would provide statements on his behalf. Now, both of them, they promised that they had never experienced violent or emotional abuse at the hands of Johnny Depp, which is pretty crazy. Winona Ryder is coming off the set of Stranger Things to defend Johnny Depp, and I believe he's got a tattoo of her name that reads Wino. Anyway, during her own time on the witness stand, well, Amber, she would open up about a 3-day ordeal of assault while the pair were in Australia back in 2015 and detailed a ton of verbal and emotional abuse. She stated, "He demanded me anytime I tried to wear anything that could be seen as sexy, calling me a whore, slut, fame hungry, and an attention whore. It got worse over time. Some incidences were so severe that I was afraid he was going to kill me, either intentionally or just by losing control and going too far." Now, eventually the judge overseeing the trial would rule in October of 2020 that the Sun's 2018 report calling Depp a wife beater, well, it was substantially true. Furthermore, there was sufficient evidence that the actor had assaulted Amber at least 12 times during their relationship. Depp's legal team called the ruling perverse and noted that Depp, he would file an appeal, but attempts at doing so, they were all turned down.
You know, they just destroy people's lives for the sake of selling a few newspapers.
Johnny would then have one more chance to prove his case thanks to the original libel lawsuit he filed against Amber for the op-ed she wrote in 2018. To set the stage for part 2 of this epic battle, well, Depp's lawyer successfully argued that the new trial, it should be held in Virginia, the home of 2 Washington Post offices and where the paper is physically published. Why is this important? Because something called an anti-SLAPP law, which stands for Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation, well, they exist in Virginia. Basically, these laws are meant to protect public figures, someone like, say, Amber Heard, from writing about topics like domestic abuse, and while being protected with a form of immunity for having done so in the public interest. Both Virginia and California, they have their own version of these laws, but California's are stronger. Now, if the trial were taking place there, well, Amber could immediately invoke those laws and probably bring this thing to a close right away. In Virginia, well, she can't do that, at least not immediately, although in the weeks leading up to the trial, the Virginia judge, he did rule that she could use the statute, arguing that her op-ed, well, it was protected speech. Now, how these laws wind up affecting the trial, it remains to be seen, but in the meantime, there are around 120 people on the potential witness list, and I'm talking some big names. We're talking Elon Musk, Paul Bettany, and James Franco. Both Musk and Franco, they're expected to speak on behalf of Amber. According to the actress, she would confide in Franco whenever things got physical with Depp. As for Elon, well, Amber and her dated after her relationship with Johnny was over, and he would often provide her 24/7 security to protect her from her ex. Paul Bettany, on the other hand, well, he'll take Depp's side on the defense, as he has said that in the past that Johnny is the kindest and gentlest man he has ever known. Now, the battle is expected to last as long as 6 weeks, and both Heard and Depp will once again take the stand to give their own side of the story, most of which will no doubt be a regurgitation of the same accusations they both made in the prior, libel suit. But hey, what are you gonna do? This is better than a movie. At the end of the day, whatever the result of this trial is, well, odds are neither Depp nor Heard will come out of it looking good, especially with it unfolding in the States under such a public eye and involving so many other stars. I mean, will someone like Paul Bettany be shunned if the judge comes over on Amber's side of the events? Or how about Franco? Will a testimony from someone as controversial as he is now help or hinder Heard's case? I guess we'll have to wait and see. The only way we'll know for sure is to pull up a chair and watch one of the biggest and admittedly largely inconsequential trials of our times. Will Amber Heard finally receive the justice she's so long sought after, or will Johnny Depp manage to eke out a win and begin the long process of rebuilding his once stellar and now crumbling career? Time will tell. Alright guys, we're gonna wrap up this video here. Be sure to like and subscribe, let us know who to feature next, and I'll see you guys in another video.